More people are going to land their dream wildlife job in the next few years than they have in all of human history. Wildlife vacancies are absurdly competitive, but if you do what other successful people do, you eventually get the job. The Practical Animal channel is a platform for interviews for ambitious naturalists. It documents professional wildlife workers' rise to success, providing a career roadmap. Watch this video for an excellent summary of what it takes to work with sun bears, native to Southeast Asia. So, if career success for you means sweating it out in the Bornean jungle and getting devoured by leeches, how do you get there? Dr. Wong Siew Te is the founder and CEO of the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Centre. For nearly 30 years, Wong has researched and worked on sun bears, teaching and speaking about them. He earned his BSc from the University of Montana and did a master's on sun bears from 1998 to 2001. Then he went on to do a PhD. He started the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Centre in 2008. Through the BSBCC, he helps the Sabah wildlife authorities to manage all sun bear issues in that state. If you're learning English as a second language, this video will be useful because you will hear two accents, a British and a Malaysian one. And before we go any further, I would like to say thank you to my subscribers. Without you, there would be no channel. Working with sun bears and living the wildlife looks like this.
Wong, what jobs are there with sun bears in Malaysia?
Then that would be us, the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Center. There are NGO who is working with wildlife in general. I mean, besides sun bears, they also deal with various wildlife species as well. That is the wildlife department. The other group of people working with job with sun bears is zoo, captive bear. For us, because we do captive cares of the rescue sun bears, we do wild sun bear research, we do rehabilitations of sun bears, we do education of sun bears.
So you have experience both of wild sun bears in the field and
Yep.
of sun bears in captivity.
Yes, yes. So I started working with wild sun bears by studying their ecology for my master project back in 1998 until the year 2000, and then continue my PhD in with the sun bears, studying the effects of selective logging, and also incorporates bearded pigs, also based in Danong. Start work with wild bears. And then it was not until I started the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Center in 2008, then I start working with the captive sun bears, because at the times there was many sun bears in captivity, and then Wildlife Department of Sabah do rescue those illegal kept sun bears, and but there's no proper facilities to house them. And then I volunteer to set up this this Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Center to help the captive sun bears that being confiscated by the government.
So working with sun bears both in the wild and in captivity, would you say
Mm.
it demands two different skill sets?
The reality is I spent a lot of time trying to trap wild bears, and then I would sedate the bears. The bears sleep for 2 hours. During the bears were sleeping, I put radio collar, do all the measurements, collect all the biological sample. And then after 2 hours, the bears awake and walk off, and that's it. I rarely see the bears again. Although starting from the following day, I would spend a lot of effort trying to get close to the wild bears that wearing a radio collar. However, because the wild bears are very shy animals, those bears that live until today, they all know that humans are the most dangerous animals. And then most of the time was the bears take their noon nap at noontime, hottest time of the day. I can manage to catch up. However, when I have this Bornean Sambai Conservation Center and working with a captive rescued bear, and then we have the state-of-the-art natural forest enclosure, we can observe their behaviors easily every day. This center complement what I missed as a bear biologist, studying bears in the wild without seeing the bears. Radio telemetry to remotely triangulate the bear's location and trying to get close to the bears and trying to collect the bear poo, to study their feeding habits, or trying to find their feeding site and trying to figure out what they eat and things like that. But this center, seriously, really, really compliment me of what I miss, because we can observe sun bears, what they do, their behaviors in semi-wild situation. Build nests, climb tree, use their claw to tap coconut, digging. Is amazing.
Wong, for to help the viewer get their bearings, no pun intended, where are you sitting right now?
I'm at the Bornean Sambai Conservation Center. I'm in northern Borneo right now, at the forest edge. About 10 meters away from where I'm sitting is the Kabili Sepilo Forest Reserve. Yeah, it's a forest reserve that gained the protected status back in 1932, and then and it is one of the oldest rainforests in the world, 130 million years old rainforest. And sometimes in my window right in front of me, I have orangutan, walk past. I got macaque walk past, and that's where I am right now. For a wildlife biologist, you cannot get any better.
Wong, how did your career develop?
When I was 7 years old, my ambitions is to become a veterinarian. When I was in high school, I was a breeder. I breed bird, fish, dogs for local pet shop. And then I went to vet school. I went to vet school in Taiwan in the late 80s, but at the times the vet program are concentrated on livestock. And then I realized that what I really envisions a vet would do, because a vet is supposed to save animals' life, isn't it? But it turns out that I have to kill a lot of sick animal in order to do a necropsy, in order to do a dissecting and find out what problem, what disease infected that pigs, that chicken, and then apply medicine to the rest of the herd. In livestock industry, all animals in livestock industry all end up dead at a very young age, all are being produced in a very inhumane way. Said I did not sign up for that. And at the same time, when I was in Taiwan, at the same time I learned about bird watching. And then through bird watching, I learned about wildlife. And after I finished my program, I worked with a wildlife professor in Taiwan for 2 years, and we did various wildlife related program, including fauna survey, wildlife survey of certain forest reserve. We did radio telemetry study of muntjac. And then my boss, Dr. Curtis Pei, also set up a rescue center for endangered wildlife, because at the time there was exotic animals keepers that want to keep orangutan as pets, want to keep sun bears as pets, and want to keep baby gibbon as pets. And most of these exotic wildlife come from Borneo, come from Malaysia. Yeah, so after working with him for 2 years, I realized that it is the wildlife that I want to study, that I want to work with. Then I went to the States. I went to University of Montana in 1994 to do my undergraduate degree on wildlife biology. And then during the first year, I met a professor who was looking for a Malaysian student to do a study on sun bear. I said, choose me, and that's how it works. For me, my interest in the beginning is all animals, that I was given the opportunity to study sun bears, and I stick with sun bear for the last 27 years until today.
How did you get the idea to open up a sun bear rehabilitation center?
It all started when I experienced the two extremes when I study sun bears. So one extreme being studying sun bears, knowing how amazing this animal is. But when I come out from the forest, I see another extreme, which is I witness deforestation, I witness logging, I witnessed big trees being chopped down. I talked to the loggers, and many of them are so proud to tell me that the best part of an elephant is the elephant trunk. The best part of a sun bear is, the right hand of the sun bear, things like that, because this is what they eat, right? And then I also witnessed sun bears being captured as pets after their mother being killed. Then they were captured by their mother's murderer, and all of them were traumatized, locked up in small cages. Yes, they are very cute when they are small, but they all do grow big and grow into a wild animals, and they are suffer, they are in pain. And then it was not until in 2004 I want to know how bad was the situations where people keep bears as pets, and I got a grant from Woodland Park Zoo in Seattle, and then I travel across Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak, and West Malaysia to understand the situations of the captive sun bear. Any places where I heard there was a captive bear or there was a few captive bear, whether it is zoos, mini zoo, crocodile farm, recreation areas, roadside zoos, private home, even a primary school would have a mini zoo that has sun bear and have other wildlife during that time. So I see so many of them in captivity, and also because sun bear is a protected species by law in Malaysia. So when the authority receive reports or complain about some people keeping bears, they also confiscate those people's pets, but they don't have a proper facilities to house those bears. So those bears are being kept in an equally sad stage. And then during this survey in 2004, the last stop was at this Sapilo Orangutan Rehabilitation. If you know, our center is just beside this world famous Sapilo Orangutan Rehabilitation Center. And then the wildlife department kept the rescue sun bear at this orangutan rehabilitation center. However, because this is a orangutan rehabilitation center and not a sun bear center, so there's no proper facilities to keep the sun bear or house the sun bears. And looking at the sun bears and the orangutan, both face the same issue, the same problem, the same threats, but there is an orangutan center and not a sun bear center. That's why the idea of establishing a sun bear center first come to my mind.
Wong, with new bears that you receive at the centre, what is the protocol for receiving them? Where do they come from? How do you source them, for want of a better expression? And then when they come in,
Okay.
what are some of the first things you do, and how long is quarantine?
First of all, the law is on our side. The law says no one is allowed to keep, kill, eat, or harm a sun bear, because sun bears in Sabah or Malaysia is a class 1 protected species. When the wildlife department, when they receive call or they receive information that certain people have a bears in their possessed, they will go and rescue, because confiscation, and they would prosecute the person, the owner, and then the bears are sent to us. So when the bears arrive, the first thing that we do is to quarantine them, and then the quarantine period is 30 days. We need to do health check as quick as possible to ensure the body conditions of this bear, to ensure that this bear do not carry any forms of potential diseases or have any problem. And then after the health check, we know that this bears is healthy, the bears is clear. They still need to be quarantined for at least 30 days, yeah. And then after that, depends on their age, then we do different thing. If it is a bear cub, bear cubs tends to have potential chances to be rehabilitated and released back into the wild. So we start to bond with them for the bear cub. All right, we need to bond with them. We need to, become the surrogate mothers so that they calm down, their stress level go down, so that they eat more and grow fast. And this is what we want. We can walk them in the forest so that they can have contact to the forest. And our location is actually at a forest reserve, primary forest. So we can bring them into the forest and walk them in the forest on a daily basis until they reach about a year old. And then when they reach about a year old, when their body weight reach about 20 kilograms, we stop walking them in the forest, because at the time their cognitions develop, they recognize and understand the surrounding. When they see stranger, they were afraid, and then we mix them with a group of bears of the similar age. The best enrichment for a bear cub is always another bear cub until they reach adulthood at the age of 4 or 5. They are fully grown. We also need to study their behaviors, and then the one that we choose for release is the one that who develop good skill, surviving skill, foraging skill, nest making skill, tree climbing skill. Need to avoid people. They need to avoid stranger. Although they bond with their surrogate mother, which is our staff, yeah, but they shy away from other non-surrogate mother human. That is the criteria that we choose for release. We have a lot of bears that, because they are raised by people, and then when they grow up, they are friendly with every people. They're habituated, so these animals are not releasable. And then for the bear that we rescue as a full-grown adult, also been to the similar process, because when they arrive here, they are already a big bear. We have to quarantine them. We still need to do the health check, and then after that, everything's clear, everything healthy. Then we don't walk the bear, obviously, and then we bring them to our bear house with forest enclosure. We trying to integrate them with other adult bears of the similar size. The integration process is actually takes a long time sometimes, and then after that, this bear will go through what we call as the electric fence training session. They all need to be electric fence. They need to be introduced to into a room with hot wire, electric wire, and during that training session, they will get zapped by this hot wire a few times, usually 2 or 3 times, and they realize that it is the electric fence that hurt them, so they will never go and touch the fence again. And after that, we can release them in the forest enclosure.
What skills do you need to receive and rehabilitate sun bears, Wong?
We need to chemical immobilize them or sedate them so that they sleep, and then we can do the health check, take blood, do measurements, collect hair sample. We have also equipped our center with a lot of dental equipment. So you need to clean their teeth, do scaling, and then once in a while, if there is some serious cases, we do root canal, we do teeth extractions, cataract surgery. Because I have a diploma in veterinary, my undergraduate, my master, my PhD is on wildlife biology. So I am a scientist, I'm a researcher. Yeah. The very first criteria is you need to have a heart that willing to help animals. Beside the knowledge, beside the interest, I think leadership is also very important as well, because use common sense, is important. Be humble is important, and reduce your own ego is important. And then trying to be friendly and work with people is important. I think, yes, the reason why I study vet is I do not like to work with people. But at the end, guess what happened? I need to work with people, because people is the one that cause all the problem to the wildlife, right? So I need to work with decision makers and trying to influence their decisions in order to benefits the wildlife. Yeah.
When you receive volunteers and interns, what skills do you find they lack?
So the most important thing is the right attitude. Yeah, I think as long as they are willing to work hard and sweat physically, work hard physically, and there will be a good start.
How would you describe sun bear conservation on the island of Borneo today, Wong?
Okay, so on the islands of Borneo, there are three different countries and 4 different regions. Okay, and all of these regions do not actually have very minimum contact with each other, especially the authorities and so on. So we are at Sabah. So right now, the Bornean Conservation Center help the Sabah state governments to deal or to manage all the sun bear conservation issue in Sabah. Sarawak Forestry Departments deal with that. And in between Sabah and Sarawak is a small country called Brunei, and they have their own forestry department. And then in the Indonesian side, they have the Indonesian authority. There are several provinces of Indonesia in the Kalimantan side, in the Indonesian side. Sabah, we are standing out.
How would you like to see conservation of sun bears change over the next 5 years, Wong?
The deforestation stop completely. We cannot log any more of or destroy any wildlife habitat or the sun bear habitat. Corridors to connect this patch of the forest with that patch of the forest, so that animals in between these two patches that in the past got cut off because of development, because of logging, because of agriculture and so on. We need to connect them so that they can form a meta population. That is one. Zero poaching. So we need to ensure that the people who live next to a forest reserve, next to a bear habitat, don't go and poach, don't go and set snares in the forest. We need to empower the local people, by providing jobs, by improve their livelihood. And in Sabah, we can do that. One way to do that is to promote nature-based tourism. People come to Sabah not to do shopping. They come here to enjoy nature. They come here to hike the mountain, visit Kinabatangan River, visit Danum Valley, the rainforest, to see the wildlife that is not found in their own country. And when they are here, they spend money, and their money creates jobs.
Do we have any knowledge gaps regarding sun bear ecology?
Yes, there's still a lots of unknown in terms of sun bear ecology. Say, for example, the reproduction biology of sun bears. We still do not know how many bears are there in the wild. We still do not know where in the forest that have bears and where in the forest do not have bears.
Wong, can
Yes.
you recommend, can you suggest a research project?
We have small project here and there, and I think the best way to do it is to contact me directly, and then let us discuss.
Wong, are there any other essential reading books for people who want to study sun bears?
I'm in the process of writing up a book, but there are many articles, research journals, and so on. And then if you can go to our website at www.bsbcc.org.my, and there is a page called resources, and there's a lot of published research paper, and in PDF file where you can read.
Are there conferences on sun bears?
Yes, definitely. There are actually, we do have once every few years or so, we have the sun bear symposium.
Wong, do you have any further advice you can offer somebody who wants to work with sun bears?
Any advice? I think, if you are in places like, say, in UK or Europe or other foreign country, I think read up. Okay, read up the existing articles, research paper on sun bear, so that you improve your knowledge on sun bear is very important. And then also because for me as a scientist, understanding the forest ecology is also very important. You see my in behind me, all of these are books on, this whole row is about tropical forest ecology. All of this is on different plant species, yeah. And then my field guide over here, so a lot of it. This is my veterinary books over here, and yeah, I think understand is a very, very first step. Stop waste your time or spend your time on like TikTok and some girls dancing this and that. I think we can have a better way to spend your free time. I think that is very, very important. And then hopefully with the knowledge that you receive, that will stimulates your interest, that will inspire. I read a lot of books like, for example, I have a whole rows on Jane Goodall's book. I have a whole rows on George Shaller's book. Yeah, Alan Rabinowitz, Laurie Marker, all these big icon on wildlife research. I also have books, like say Ian E.O. Wilson. Yeah, so all these great guru or great people in this field, I think read a lot of them is very important. And also, if you can visit us, experience what is rainforest firsthand, and see sun bears firsthand is also important, because when you see or read a book, yes, it's important, but not until you come to the real place, you see the real thing, and that will struck you. Yes, watching Sir David Attenborough documentary is important, and it's very you receive a lot of knowledge, very educational, but you need to come here to experience what he saw and talk about. I think that would create a lot of impacts, and seeing the scale of destructions by people, seeing how dense is a populated country, and all these people have to eat every day, and it will makes you feel like, where is the food come from to feed all these people? If you look at the local fish market, every day is tons of fish being hauled out by this big vessel or trawlers, and then the diversity of sea life being harvested, all of them makes you think, if can planet Earth continue to be like that, and so things like that makes you feel like you need to do something. It's no use for me to tell you to do something, unless you want to do something about it. And it is all about you. It's all about your own incentive, your own interest. Yeah. I can advise you, but you need to have that kind of motive, to do what you want to do, right?
Wong, you are the founder and CEO of the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Centre. Thank you so much for being on the Practical Animal Channel, Dr. Wong Siew Te.
Thank you very much.